stop scrolling. I need you to stop what you're doing right now because I just witnessed something on SmackDown that made me put my phone down and just sit in the dark for a solid 5 minutes trying to process what I just saw. My hands are still a little unsteady typing this because what happened between Haku and Jacob Fatu is not just a wrestling storyline anymore. This is a Tongan elder looking his bloodline dead in the eye and saying, "Do not embarrass what we build." And brother, the energy in that room was so thick you could choke on it. Let me paint the picture for you because you need to feel this the way I felt it. It is the 31st of July, 2026. SmackDown is live. The arena is buzzing because everyone already knows Haku has been floating around WWE again. The man showed up, reminded his sons Tama and Tal exactly who they come from, and the MFTs walked out of that building with tag gold. The crowd is still processing all of that. There is a conversation happening, and the details coming out of that conversation are what has the entire wrestling world on fire tonight. Because here's what nobody is talking about loudly enough. Haku did not just come back for Tama and Tala. Haku came back with a message for the entire extended bloodline. And that message had Jacob Fatu's name written all over it. Now, let me back up and give you the full picture, because this story has layers that most channels are skipping right over. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, has been on an absolute warpath in 2026. The man beat Drew McIntyre in an unsanctioned match at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. The Tongan death grip, the same move Haku made legendary. The same grip that Fatu locked onto Roman Reigns on live television and made the whole locker room go silent. And when Fatu did that, he was not just performing a wrestling move. He was invoking an entire lineage. He was saying to the world, this power, this legacy, this belongs to us. And here is where it gets complicated. Here's where the open question sits that nobody has a clean answer to yet. Jacob Fatu knew what he was doing when he used that move. He said it himself when he talked about Haku, quote, "Everything he has done for us, for the business, for my father." He spoke about how Haku looked out for his dad, the Tonga kid. He acknowledged the respect, the fear, the love, all wrapped up into one man. So when Fatu reached into that sacred bag and pulled out the Tongan death grip, it was a tribute. But was it sanctioned? Did he have Haku's blessing? Or did Jacob Fatu borrow something that was not fully his to borrow yet? Is exactly what Haku apparently addressed. And the word coming out of WWE circles is that Haku's message was not soft. It was not a grandfatherly pat on the back. It was a warning wrapped in love, wrapped in iron. Do not embarrass our blood. Now think about what that means. Think about the weight of those words coming from a man who is legitimately considered one of the most physically dangerous human beings to ever lace up boots. We are talking about a man whose real-life reputation outside of wrestling made entire locker rooms go quiet when he walked in. Stories about Haku are not kayfabe. They are whispered with a different kind of respect. When that man speaks, it carries a frequency that younger generations of wrestlers feel in their chest, not just their ears. And Jacob Fatu, for all his feral energy, for all his monster credibility, is still the son of Tonga kid. He is still someone who grew up knowing what Haku's name meant before he ever stepped foot in a wrestling ring. So when Haku looks at him and says those words, you better believe that lands differently than any promo, any championship match, any crowd reaction ever could. Now, here's the debate I want you to sit with, because I think this is where the comments section is going to split right down the middle. Was Haku right to warn Jacob Fatu? Or does Fatu at this stage of his career, with the momentum he has, with the Tongan death grip already woven into his 2026 story, does he earn the right to carry that legacy without needing permission from anyone? Drop your answer below, because I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. Let me now tell you about the backstage energy the night Haku showed up, because the public segment was electric. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling is a different story entirely. Sources close to the situation describe the atmosphere as unusually tense, even by WWE backstage standard. Haku walking into that building commanded a different kind of stillness. Veterans who have been in this industry for decades reportedly straightened up when he appeared, not out of fear in a negative sense, but out of something closer to deep automatic respect. The kind your body shows before your brain even catches up. And the conversation that allegedly took place between Haku and people within Jacob Fatu's orbit was described as deliberate. Every word chosen with intention. No raised voices. Just weight. Just presence. Just the kind of communication that Tongan culture has always understood better than any press release or promo package ever could. When the elders speak in that culture, the message is not negotiable. It is not a suggestion. It is a code that carries centuries behind it. This connects to something historically massive if you know your wrestling history. Cast your mind back to the Hart Foundation in 1997. Bret Hart was carrying an entire nation's pride on his shoulders. And when the Montreal Screwjob happened, it was not just a betrayal of a contract. It was a desecration of something that a family had built to Grassor. Continuation. The fallout from that one moment rippled for years because you do not mess with the Bloodline's honor without consequences that outlast any championship run. What Haku's warning to Jacob Fatu represents is the same energy, but in reverse. This is not betrayal from the outside. This is the elder guarding the bloodline from the inside. This is someone who built the foundation, looking at the next generation and saying, I see you rising. I see the fire. Now make sure that fire does not burn down the house we built. And here's the wild card that nobody is fully acknowledging yet. Haku's full-time status in WWE is still not 100% confirmed. Reports say they have not heard definitively whether he is signing on as a regular presence, which means every appearance he makes right now carries maximum significance. He is not background noise, he is a statement. Every single time he shows up, it means something specific. So if Haku chose to direct energy specifically toward Jacob Fatu's direction, that is not a coincidence. That is orchestrated. That is intentional. And if you think WWE is not building toward a moment where Haku's presence forces some kind of reckoning between the MFTs and wherever Faven 2 lands next in this roster shuffle, then I think you might be underestimating how deep this booking actually goes. Because right now, Jacob Fatu is back under Roman Reigns' bloodline after everything, after the solo run, after the Civil War, after the cage match at SummerSlam 2025. Fatu is in this SummerSlam 2026 six-man tag teaming with the Usos against Solo Sikoa, Royce Keys, and LA Knight. He fell in line. He is back under the tribal chief structure. And a man like Jacob Fatu, with that animal inside him, falling in line is not a permanent state. That is a pressure cooker. And Haku walking into that world right now feels less like a family reunion and more like a lit match being tossed into a room full of gasoline. Here's the second debate I want you to wrestle with, pun fully intended. Does Haku's return help Jacob Fatu, or does it actually complicate his path? Because right now, Haku is aligned with Tama and Tala, the MFTs, the tag champions. Fatu is on the other side of the family tree politically. So is Haku going to be the bridge that pulls this all together? Or is he the wedge that forces Fatu to prove himself all over again on a different level? Tell me what you think, because I have been going back and forth on this for the last hour. One more thing before I close this out, because I cannot let this sit without acknowledging the cultural magnitude of what we are actually watching. Haku, at 67 years old, still imposing, still commanding, standing in a WWE ring with his sons holding gold above their heads, and his message rippling across the entire extended Tongan wrestling family. This is not entertainment. This is a living dynasty operating in real time. You would have to go back to something like the Hart family's complete domination of Canadian wrestling through multiple generations to find a parallel with this kind of breadth and depth. The Inoue and Fatu families have more combined WWE history than almost any other lineage in the business. And right now in 2026, they are all active, all intersecting, and all being held accountable to an elder who has never once needed a microphone to make himself understood. The warning has been issued. The blood has been reminded of what it carries. Now, the question is, What does Jacob Fatu do with it? Does he take the warning as wisdom and channel that Tongan death grip into something that honors the legacy and elevates him to the top of this company? Or does he take it as a challenge, the way every great wrestler in his family always has, and go out there and prove that you do not need permission to become a legend? You just need the right amount of controlled destruction. Either Jacob Fatu humbles himself and becomes the greatest Tongan champion this business has ever seen with the family behind him, or he goes rogue and becomes something so dangerous that not even Haku himself can contain it. Which Fatu do you want to see? Let me know down below. This is your boy signing off.